Well, hello everybody. Welcome once again to Great Books of Our Time. It's Sunday afternoon here in Australia, and I thought, what better way to while away the day than to invite everyone on Facebook into my bed. That's right, here we are in my boudoir, curled comfortably under the sheets in my husband's silk dressing gown, about to read a great book. What better way to spend a Sunday afternoon than with a great book? And today I've got the Pulp Fiction classic, if you will. Many of you may not have heard of it before, but I'm sure once you have, you will consider it a classic. And today we've got for you Las Vegas Lesbian. I'll read the back because that always is a great way to tantalize you into delving in through the pages. She was a beautiful, desirable woman in a gambling town loaded with women. But there was a difference. She wanted to destroy every man and woman who wouldn't play the game her way. I mean, really, do you need to hear more to be drawn in? I haven't read this book at all. This is a fresh start for me, so I thought I would just basically flip the pages, see where we end up, and give you a glimpse into this literary masterpiece. Let's see. We'll start at chapter 3. Why not? Les drove toward the hotel in Henderson. I've been to Henderson. It's a little town, a little suburb outside of Las Vegas proper. It's where most of the people live who actually work in Vegas. Les drove towards the motel in Henderson, where the episode with Stephanie had taken place. We didn't hear about the episode with Stephanie, so we'll have to surmise. He could not think clearly and went to the outside chance she might have returned there. He hoped, alone. They felt an empathy of emotions that allowed them to console one another without words for a time, but Les had to ask some of the questions that were tormenting him. Are all women, that's the word, susceptible? He asked angrily. Is it as simple as that? Nothing as complicated as this, as the human body and mind is simple, she reflected soberly. But I've learned through psychiatry that each of us, man and woman alike, has a certain degree of latent homosexuality. Normally, it is far overbalanced by heterosexual desires, and so no harm is done. But then, a psychological shock can come, an emotional upheaval that is like an earthquake that shakes and rearranges the structure of things. When it has passed, sometimes the balance has been tipped. Each of us has a natural fear of being hurt or destroyed. And if the fear becomes strong enough, our subconscious rejects any object or emotion that could bring hurt. Do you understand? Les wasn't quite sure, but he nodded. That's what made it so easy for me to accept Stephanie's unnatural lovemaking at that point. She had been so put off and ignored by both father and mother, she was eager to do anything to win the love she needed so badly for survival. Actually, one psychologist told me that she would have responded equally passionately to a man at that time. She was sort of balanced precariously, on a razor edge, and whoever came first to tilt her emotions, man or woman, decided the eventual way her emotions went, once released. If there had only been a boy, she said wistfully. Oh, the number of times I've said that. If there had only been a boy, ladies and gentlemen. But Laurie, being married and all, Les was trying to rationalize. As far as I know, she's never, had any feelings for women. Anne shook her head and spoke patiently. It isn't her latent feelings concerning women that makes the real decision, but her feelings towards men. In this case, it boils down to her feelings about you. It jarred Les's consciousness of the diminishing ardor and desire in their sexual relations of late. Does she enjoy sex with you? Anne asked. I guess so. At least she seems to. I don't know if she has satisfaction too often, but she claims it is enough to know that she is making me happy. Does that sound right? There was a note of worry in his voice. It isn't as simple as laying down a standard, Les, she said seriously. Have you been more cold, or does she seem less willing or eager of late? Yes, in a strange way, he admitted. I guess she has. More impatient to get it over with, and pretty obvious about refusing to have me without actually saying no. She sat thinking about it. The conditions could mean a dangerous situation if they've gotten together. I mean on Stephanie's part. She's aggressive and determined to hurt me. You see, she is a complete lesbian now. Well, that sounds like they finished the Death Star or something. And feels that by giving her love to someone else, she can hurt the one she loves, which is still me, basically. She ran away like a little child to punish me, you see. I finally told her 2 weeks ago that I'm going to be married. It startled Les, who shot her a puzzled look. You are a lesbian? Was, she said with no shame. But only with and for Steffi. I began psychiatric help as quickly as I began to earn money. It took a long time. Until last year, in fact, before I could ever hope for a normal life and love. Even when I knew I could, the fight was only half won, because there is still Stephanie. They pulled into the driveway of the motel where Stephanie had been staying and quickly determined that she had not returned there. They climbed into his car and sat there looking at each other. What now? Les asked helplessly. Well, I don't know Las Vegas at all. I suppose there must be literally hundreds of places they could be, if they are together. The way you laid it all out, I don't think there's much possibility they aren't, but I don't know where they might head. He shook his head despondently. Is it possible that your wife, Lori, would go home? He shook his head quickly, rejecting the thought, but then his frown deepened. Maybe, he conceded. After all, she thinks I'm still working. He started the car. Worth a try, anyhow. Are you gripped? Are you drawn in? Is this a book you want more of? And isn't it a shame? Isn't it a crying shame that you've never been introduced to it before? That's the purpose of these talks that I'm giving and these broadcasts to you, my lovely friends out there in Facebook land, is to introduce you to some of the finer works of literature that sadly may not be household names yet. I'm asking to change that. So thank you very much for joining us again for Chapter 2, Episode 2, if you like, of Great Works of Our Time. Las Vegas Lesbian. See you next time.